Hello again, fight fans. Welcome to episode number 262 of the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Montero, for Ring Magazine, ringtv.com, and of course, the Ring Digital YouTube channel where you're checking me out live right now. Quick reminder, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you click that notification bell because as we discover every week, somehow, some way, YouTube unsubscribes a bunch of people. So TNC 262 for the week of April 17th. And if you want to call in, phone lines will be open. In the USA, it's 213-267-7787. In the UK, 02081-036-051. We're about to be joined by Sonny Conto, undefeated American heavyweight, 7-0, 6 knockouts, coming off a KO1 win in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Didn't even get 3 minutes of work in. This guy punches like a freaking mule. I think he's only seen the second round twice so far in 7 pro fights. So real quick, guys, news and notes before we bring Sonny on, because I think he was getting himself set up with the Wi-Fi. News and notes, not a whole lot going on this week. We're still in a holding pattern with Fury Joshua. I know a bunch of you guys have been asking me. I don't know shit. I don't know what's going on. Tyson Fury says one thing one day, he says something completely opposite the next day. And then, of course, Eddie Hearn keeps leaking a little bit of information, but it feels like it's clickbait. It feels like it's just to keep people nibbling and interested. I know that they're still working out the site and all that, the site fee, the actual site, the venue, all of that. There's a few different contenders. In the world of COVID, with all the restrictions we have, as big as that fight is, and remember, it's a 2-fight deal. I've been telling you guys for years, if they fight, this is basically the heavyweight version of Canelo Golovkin. They're going to fight 2 or 3 times. In a COVID world, there's limited options here in the United States. But if you put that overseas, there are some countries that will pay crazy bank to put that fight on. And I think that's what Sir Eddie is trying to negotiate right now. So I can't really give you guys any information on that. I know a bunch of you have been asking. Right now, it's the same old same. We're just kind of in a holding pattern there. As far as Jaime Munguia, he was set to face the Polish fighter Maciej Sulecki April 24th in Texas. That is scrapped. Not the fight, but the fighter, Sulecki, is out because he has an injury. He hasn't disclosed what it is, but he's injured. He's out. So they're bringing in Demetrius Ballard, and they're changing the date to April 23rd, which I think is a Friday. That's at the Don Haskins Center in El Paso, Texas. And the WBA has ordered Murderjon Akhmadiev to face Ronnie Rios. Is mandatory for one of his titles. They need to get a deal done by May 6th. I like that fight. I think it's a pretty good fight. Okay, so let's bring on a guest here. Hang on one second, guys. All right, let's bring Sonny on the show. Sonny, what's up? Can you hear me?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Good. How you doing, man?
Good.
I'm digging the chain, man, with the Bronco right there. That's dope. I'm digging that. I got mine, but it's just a chain. I used to have a piece on there, but I busted it off. So, man, it's not even 48 hours from your knockout win Saturday. Are you back in Philly?
Yeah, I'm back in Philly.
Okay.
Did a morning run this morning, so I'm right back into the groove. Gonna hit the gym after this interview, and just staying ready.
So you still got your 2-a-days going. So like you didn't even break a sweat barely Saturday.
Hey, you don't get paid for overtime.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So I was actually talking during the intro. I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you've only seen the second round twice as a pro, right? Everything else was a KO1.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I had a 4-round decision, right. Unanimous decision.
So you went 4 rounds once, and I think one was a second round knockout?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly.
And then I noticed for this fight, so this was your first fight since the pandemic, and you gained about 15 pounds, right? And it was solid. So that's something you plan to do, correct?
Yeah, of course. The goal is always to I started my professional career, I think, at like 214 pounds. So these new generation of heavyweights are bigger. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely the goal. The strength and conditioning, and of course my meals and things like that. So I'm comfortable at 230. I would like to get more tight and more solid. which you'll see that next weigh, and I'll be more tight and more solid.
Okay.
But I think even another like five more pounds, or maybe even 10 more pounds. I mean, I have the frame for it. So
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, do you have like a strength and conditioning coach that's working on that with you, or is that something that you guys are just doing on top of the boxing where you're just trying to get more calories in?
yeah. So I train with LCM on the side, LCM Fitness. Uh, that's my boy. He does my strength and conditioning as well as my father. And we do that certain amount of days a week. We box every day. We
Okay.
spar certain days of the week, and we just go hard, man. Just go hard, stay focused, train hard, and I really just listen to my dad. He's got like a crazy brain in his boxing stuff, and I just believe and trust in him, and of course he believes and trusts in me.
Right.
So he puts together the game plans, and I just go out there and execute them. Um, and of course, he was critiquing me about the knockout as well. Things that I had did wrong and stuff like
Right.
that. He didn't think it was the best. But yeah, I'm young. I got a ton of room for improvement, and I just want to get better. And I'm focused like never before. There's a lot to prove, and so yeah, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I wanted to, if we could back up because you're just starting to get known by a lot of boxing fans. They're just starting, like in Philly, everybody knows you when you came up in the amateurs, but outside, more globally now, you're starting to get on the radar, especially with that highlight reel knockout you scored Saturday. If you could talk a little bit about just your background in boxing, your dad trained you. Did he fight? Is boxing a family thing? Because you started at 10 years old, if I heard correctly. If I'm wrong, tell
Yes.
me. But
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So growing up, I was always in and out of the gym. I played baseball as well. Uh, so yeah, boxing, I feel like it is in my blood, and definitely the power is in my blood. I'm just a born puncher. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Teddy Atlas said, punchers are born; they're not made, and that's a fact. Uh, so yeah, actually, my first fight was at 119 pounds.
I
So
heard that. Yeah. How old were you?
I was about 12 years old, I'd say,
Okay.
12,
Okay.
13. So that's why you can tell I keep the way I am and move in the ring. I think that had a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? And my father just always he was with me from the beginning. He came up under a really well known trainer in South Philly, and he's always been in the fight game and things like that. So I mean, he knows what he's doing, and like I said, I believe in him, and he believes in me. So that's really what it is. You know what I mean? That matters. Believing is half of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Did
grew
he
up.
did he like put you in the boxing, or is it something
No,
you were
it was
interested in?
yeah, I was interested in it. So I was
Okay.
always a physical kid growing up, whether it was fighting in the street or wanting to wrestle or what I mean, slap tapping or whatever it was. I was just always a physical kid. And it's just I just told my mom, like, Mom, I want to box. So she had brought me to a gym, and it's been history ever since. And since I walked in the gym, I was sparring pros at a young age. You know what I mean? Just my my power and the way I was aggressive. You know what I mean? Like guys like Hank Lundy when he
Mhm.
was 15-0 at the time. You know what I mean? I was always in there with pros growing up. So I mean, I always loved. I've never loved anything as much as I loved boxing. So that's just is what it is.
So I know you wrestled in high school. You talked about playing baseball, but you would say boxing has like always been the top thing.
Yeah, for sure. And high
Okay.
school was the first time that I have ever wrestled in my life. I never grew up wrestling. I just wrestled in high school, and I got some varsity time and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I've always been a competitive, aggressive, you know, uh, just a rough kid. You know what I mean? From
Do you have
South Philly.
brothers or sisters? Like, do you
I'm
have
a,
a lot of brothers that you guys
I'm
would
an only
fight?
child.
You're an only child. Wow.
Yes, sir.
In an Italian family, what happened there?
Yeah, yeah, right.
That's rare, man. That's rare. Uh,
I was a piece of work.
we got to talk about the Italian thing a little bit. Are you is being an Italian American? Look, there's a rich tradition with Italian American fighters in boxing, right? Of course, it goes back almost to the beginning, but not as much today. You know, it's not what it once was. Is your heritage, is that an important thing to you with
Absolutely.
your boxing brand, or is it just in the background?
Yeah, no, that's everything to me. You know what I mean? I feel like that's who I am, and that's where I come from. You know what I mean? Every Sunday and certain nights of the week is spaghetti and pasta and things like that. So it's definitely Italian on this side.
You got the Sunday gravy and all that at grandma's house. Like, that was my childhood, man. So
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's in the blood.
Are you a historian with boxing? Like, do you look at the old school fighters, or is it just more what's going on right now?
No, that them guys are the ones who started it. So you have to look at the old school fighters. I feel like, I was just looking at the other night, smoking Joe Frazier in the Philly shell.
Oh,
and the way
Philly, of course.
It was crazy. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
It was like, wow. But yeah, the old guys they were the greats. You know what I mean? Rest in peace, Marvin Hagler.
Yeah.
Oh, they're great. You know what I mean? I love all them guys, and even today, I love a lot of the fighters today.
You mentioned the Philly thing. You mentioned Joe Frazier at Philly. When I think of Philly boxing, old school boxing, there was all these great fighters out of Philly, and then I feel like it kind of had a dip. But now there's a lot of guys coming up. I mean, you're coming up, Jaron Boots Ennis, who had a great performance last weekend.
Ennis. Great performance on Saturday night. He's definitely ready for, any world-class opponent. And, I'm with him 100% of the way. And I believe in him. He's naturally gifted.
Yeah, he could do a little bit of everything, right? I mean, do you feel like boxing in Philly kind of has an uptick right now because there's young guys like yourself and Boots?
I believe that Philly's coming back, and we're coming back hard. Cool Boy Steph is another world champion in Philly. We got Boots. We had J-Rock, and he's still relevant.
Great fighter.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, so it's a lot of – we have Bryant Jennings fighting for the Bridger-Woodard world title.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so, Philly's still here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Philly doesn't get the love it should because there's still great fighters coming out of the Philadelphia area. And I feel like it flies under the radar. Is it like a goal of yours to – of course, I know you want to fight for a world title at some point and everything, but to maybe – come back to Philly and do that homecoming fight?
Oh, absolutely. I can sell out an arena for sure. So definitely coming back to Philly would be wonderful, and I think it would be huge.
There's a lot of good young American heavyweights coming up right now, like yourself, Jared Anderson, Stephen Shaw. Is there anybody you have your eye on? Is there any specific guy that you look at and you're like, I want a piece of him. I think it'd be a good fight. We're both prospects kind of at that level. Is there anyone you're targeting?
I'm still young. I'm still growing. That's really up to my management team and what they do, But down the line, I'm sure that we're all going to meet one day. So, it's only a matter of time. But, yeah, I believe that all of us are growing, you know what I mean? And when we fight, we want to make it make sense, you know what I mean? We're in this thing to get paid, you know what I mean?
Of course.
So, of course, we, like I said, I believe that we're all going to fight, another Italian heavyweight, Guido Vianello, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what about him? Because I know he talked some trash at some point recently, didn't he?
Well, it wasn't him. that talked trash. It was his manager.
Right.
And, I think maybe, that was maybe a little game plan that his manager had, because he knows once I get, a little more pro experience, how that's gonna go. But you know, yeah, like I said, all of us young heavyweights are growing, and I believe, all at the end of the day, one day we will meet, and it's great for the sport. You know what I mean?
It's an exciting time as long as you guys fight each other, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of good young American heavyweights right now. So if you guys all start fighting each other, but it is a process, and that's what I was going to ask you about. Like, you've had the 4-rounders. Most of them haven't gone past the first round. Is there a plan in place? And, have you discussed with your management maybe stepping up to the 6-rounders, the 8-rounders? And how many fights do you think you want this year in 2021?
Yes, absolutely. Don't forget, I'm coming off a 14-month layoff,
Mm-hmm.
so it's about getting back into the groove of things, and I'm looking to fight 4 or 5 more times this year. So
Wow.
yeah, so as long as I stay healthy and everything goes according, I plan to be in the ring another 4 or 5 times this year, and yeah, so.
Have they mentioned anything to you about when you might be back? Like if it's going to be May, June, or have those talks just not happened yet?
I'm hearing maybe mid-June, early July.
Okay.
So we'll see. But I'm getting ready to head out to some camps, and that's what it's all about, growing and getting them top 10 guys that are already in the top 10, and being around them and sparring with them, and that's what I believe is gonna elevate my skill level and my ring IQ and everything else.
Get you that experience. Well, I won't keep you much longer because I know you got another workout to get to. Where can people follow you on social, Sonny?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Sonny_Conto. I'm on Twitter at Sonny Conto, and that's really all I use. And I answer my fans back. I'm not like these other fighters.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which is a big deal. That's a big, big deal. And I know that that's something you've talked about in different interviews. You try to respond to people and be interactive with the fans. So
Sure.
everyone, make sure you check them out.
I think
You're
that's a big
more
part.
active on Instagram though, probably, right?
Yes, definitely. I think that's a big part because without the fans, us fighters are nothing. Let's be honest.
Right.
Also, we just dropped a thing called Millions. Go check that out in my Instagram bio. You could tune into my training sessions. You could ask me anything. You can buy my merch, whatever it is that you please to do. And I appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll do it again. And I'll post some links to your social and everything on the vid. And we'll have good luck in training. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you in the ring soon. And we'll see you back on the show soon too.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a good night. Ciao.
See.
There he goes, everyone. And sorry about Sonny's phone was breaking up a little bit. He was inside. I know he's getting ready to go work out soon. So apologies for the picture breaking up a little bit there. You know how it is with technology. But yeah, man, look, if you didn't get a chance to see Sonny Conto on the undercard of that Smith-Vlasov fight, go back and watch it. I think it's out there on YouTube. I actually think Top Rank, it's on Top Rank's YouTube channel where they had that knockout. The thing about Sonny Conto is he moves around pretty well. I have watched a lot of his trainings, sessions and mitt work and stuff like that. And he's pretty light on his feet. He's definitely an athlete. And that's something that you see more and more and more with heavyweights. They're not just these big lumbering guys that swing for the fences, which is the stereotype of the super big heavyweights that are up over 230 pounds or so. Sonny's definitely a light on his feet kind of guy, and he's maybe going to be slightly undersized against some of the super, super big heavyweights. Everyone's going to be undersized against Tyson Fury. But even, guys, of course, like Anthony Joshua, those types of heavyweights, will be a little undersized, but I do think he has some natural athletic ability, and there's money in the right hand. There's money in the left hook. So he's definitely somebody worth checking out. And for young American heavyweights right now. Look, Jared Anderson and Stephen Shaw, they're going to fight. And by the way, Steven's going to be on the show next week, and they're going to fight next week on Ring City. So we'll have Steven on here to talk about that fight preview before he gets in there and fights Jared. So that's an awesome heavyweight fight. I just love that we've got some young American heavyweights coming up, and I hope they continue to fight each other. Very, very important. All right, let's jump here. We did news and notes. Let's see. The phones are open, by the way, guys, if you want to call in. And let's jump right into this review, man. Let's just jump through this. All right, fight review. Let's start in Wembley Arena over in London. Matchroom on DAZN. Conor Been with an impressive win. I mean, this guy's 24 years old, improves to 18-0 with a TKO win over Samuel Vargas. Of course, this was a welterweight fight. Ben is a welterweight prospect. That's another division that has some young talent coming up right now that I'm excited about, because the current top welterweights, I pretty much lost interest because they don't want to fight each other. But the young guys coming up in the welterweight division here in the United States and abroad are exciting. And I think that as they go through the process of, ironing out who's for real, who's not, hopefully they fight each other. But Conor Been, look, this was a slightly premature stoppage. I know a lot of people were bitching about the stoppage, calling it the British stoppage. I think that's a little unfair, that term. There's early stoppages all over the world, people. But, yeah, probably a little premature, but the writing was on the wall, and Ben looked explosive, and he jumped right on him. And he kind of caught Vargas cold there. Vargas really didn't throw back much. I would have liked to have seen the fight continue so that we could see Ben get some real work in. But this was an impressive win for him, and it's an exciting win, and he moves forward. There's some substance to this kid because of who his father was, and the family he comes from. There are people out there that are going to question him and say, "Oh, well, he's just living off that name, whatever," because we've seen plenty of that, right? But I think there's some real substance there. It's going to be fun to watch him develop. Let's talk about the ladies fighting on this card. Now, I did a little teaser video on my channel, Montero Unboxing, this morning, so I won't repeat everything I said there, but I will repeat a few points. Shannon Courtenay wins a unanimous decision win over Ebony Bridges, wins the vacant bantamweight title. One of the, I don't even know what damn sanctioning organization it was. Who cares? Vacant title there at bantamweight. Some felt the scorecards were a bit wide. Maybe they were a bit wide, but as I said in my video earlier, I felt that Courtenay won the fight. Courtenay won the fight. 6-4, 7-3. Okay, if you saw the fight a draw, I can live with that. I can understand that, but I think you're giving Bridges all the swing rounds if you scored a draw. I thought that the better work overall was from the UK fighter. And I asked this earlier on the video I posted, because there's a lot of people out there that just love to shit all over women's boxing. And look, I talk real about it, okay? You guys know this. It's a ongoing, ever-growing part of the boxing discussion, women's boxing. It is here, and it is going to continue to grow. So those of you who are uncomfortable with it and it pisses you off, like, you just need to learn to accept it, because some of these ladies can fight, all right? And real talk, when you get over 147 pounds, the talent pool is extremely limited, okay? But as you go down in weight, particularly as you get to 135 and below, the talent pool is pretty good. At 118, there's some really, really good fighters. I thought these two ladies put on a good fight. I asked this on my video earlier. Were you entertained? I asked it like 5 or 6 different times in that video. Were you entertained? If you were entertained and you thought that this was a compelling, competitive fight, what more do you want? These women are not calling themselves the greatest of all time. They're not comparing themselves to the male fighters. They're not saying they knock out all the guys in their division. They're not saying that they're more accomplished and deserve more money than 90% of the male fighters out there. There's no delusion with these two women. They were talking about each other. They were talking shit about each other, talking up their fight, promoting their fight. And then they went in the ring and backed it all up. And especially for Ebony Bridges, who came up short in this fight, I think she was slightly outclassed. I just think Shannon Courtenay was the more seasoned pro and a little smoother, a little classier with her technique. Bridges had to really, really put up, because She talked a lot of trash, and she gets heat for showing some skin and everything, and she defends herself. She's very, very confident. She says, look, this is who I am. This is how I market myself. Love it or leave it, basically, right? And she had to show up and not suck. She had to show up and fight well. And to her credit, she was competitive in this fight, and I thought she won some rounds. I think one judge had this like almost a shutout. Like that was too wide, okay? I think that Bridges came in there, won some rounds, did very well, put for herself. Remember, guys, this was a massive step up in class for her. I think this was her 6th pro fight. The 5 girls that she had fought prior to this were not very good. So she was going from very, very weak opposition to top-level opposition, right? Because I think you all agree Shannon Courtney is a top 10 fighter at bantamweight. So for her to take that step up in class and fight the way that she did, I thought was impressive. It exceeded my expectations. Now, on the other side, Shannon Courtney, she, I thought, in spots showed some really clever footwork. She had a fighter coming in at her, like bum rushing her, bowling her, really, really aggressive. She turned Bridges a lot. She got off some good shots down the middle. It's sometimes around the guard, but a lot of times right down the middle, in between Bridges' combinations. That shows some craft. And then to use your feet backing up along the ropes, touch your opponent, turn her, get out, and repeat for 10 rounds, that shows craft. There was blood in this fight. After all the shit talk, the blood, the excitement, all that, the 2 girls hugged and they posted photos on social and stuff, and there's respect there. So I think you got a little bit of everything in this fight, and you guys need to give these ladies some credit. Let's give them some credit. Here we go. I'm doing my applause sound effect. They deserve some damn credit, okay? I thought this was an entertaining, fun fight. And in a weekend where there were multiple showcases, right, especially on undercards, you had a nice quality scrap here on an undercard. It was actually the main event of this card that turned out to be kind of a showcase the way it ended. Also on the undercard, Savannah Marshall improves to 10-0 with a TKO 3 win. This was the first defense of her middleweight title. She needs to step up the opposition, all right? She needs to step up the opposition as a pro. She fought some good fighters as an amateur, highly accomplished amateur. But, as a pro, again, the opposition at 160, isn't quite there. I get it. But Claressa Shields has faced much better. As much as I say her resume is weak, she's still faced much better opposition than Savannah Marshall so far. So T. Marshall, Eddie Hearn need to get on it. This girl's 29 years old. So let's get on it. But having said all that, there's some smoothness there. There's some really, really nice, sneaky ways that she sets up her power. Now, how will all that work when she steps up? We shall see. But down the line, there is a potential big fight between her and Claressa Shields. Now, I got to bring up Claressa Shields here because I didn't see this tweet until just before I went live today in the show. But, of course, Claressa had to talk some trash after seeing Savannah Marshall fight. And for the record, Savannah Marshall's opponent was a last-minute replacement. And, this was there was a huge gap in class, in size, and everything else in this fight. So this was, she got some rounds in and everything. But as I said before, needs to step it up. But Claressa Shields tweeted, this was last night, I think it was. Eddie can say what he wants. He knows he get the money right, that the great white hope will be no more. So I'm just going to leave that right there. I'm really not going to comment on that. I just think that obviously if other fighters had tweeted something like that, they'd be in trouble. If other commentators had said something like that, they'd be fired. Claressa tweets a lot of stuff like that. She says a lot of stuff like that where it really doesn't belong. And there's other ways to build up that fight. This is why Claressa's fan base is pretty limited, because comments like that's terminology from the 1950s. I mean, honestly, that terminology just does not hold up in the modern boxing scene outside of certain YouTube channels. So that sort of thing, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way to build up that potential fight down the line. All right, some super chats here. Trenton Perella, a couple super chats. Thank you very much, my man. He says, Savannah Marshall got a big TKO win, wants Clarissa. Yeah, look, that fight down the line, I think is a big deal. I think that Savannah needs more development as a pro, though, because Clarissa has many more pro fights, and she has faced the better opposition, and she has grown and improved as a pro. So Savannah needs to get busier and step up the opposition quick, in my opinion. Trent with another super chat. Thanks again, Trent. He says, tickets for Ramirez Taylor. When can I buy? We're still waiting on a damn announcement, man. Man. I don't know what's up with Top Rank. Guys, all I can say with that is, all I can do is kind of assume. With the Taylor Ramirez stuff is they're going back and forth between different venues. It will be in Vegas. You can go ahead and book your travel to Vegas now, okay? That fight is going down in Vegas. But they're trying to figure out exactly which venue. It has to do with where they can get more tickets, where they can get more people in there because they want to sell tickets for that show. It is going to be a seller. It's going to be a hot ticket item. Trent with a third super chat. Thank you so much, Trent. Says, I like Williams over Andrade. I hope William Hill takes bets on it. I got Williams by stoppage. Wow. Not good that his stablemate, Willie Hutchinson, just got KO. Interesting. Let me tell you, Trent, you are not the only guy taking Williams over Andrade. You are not the only one, my man. I will talk about that later in the show, obviously, but that's a bold bet, dude. I don't know what the odds are on that, but if you're getting good odds and it's worth it, might be worth taking that bet. All right, back to the review. PBC on Showtime, Mohegan Sun Casino, Ucantsville, Connecticut. Jaron Boots Ennis improves to 27-0, KO 6 win over Sergey Lipinets. He is a very, very impressive fighter. So of every single prospect in boxing, Jaron Boots Ennis is obviously the bluest of blue chips. In fact, I think it's safe to say at this point, he has proven himself to be a top 10 welterweight, and he is no longer a prospect. He is a legitimate contender. I don't think there is any welterweight in the world that decisively beats Boots Ennis right now. I don't even know if there's a 154 or 160 that significantly defeats Jaron Boots Ennis right now. There are guys I would pick to beat him if they were to fight right now. What I'm telling you is it would be competitive, highly competitive. This guy can do everything. The only thing we don't know about for sure, the only damn thing, is if he could take a big punch. We haven't seen that yet. So that's the one question mark, right? But everything else, man, check. Every damn checkbox on the list, he checks it off. He's got everything. Really, really impressive performance. Now, some people may be overdoing it. Does this mean Jaron Boots Ennis should be on the pound-for-pound list? Does this mean that he's already should be in the top 5 welterweight ratings? Slow down. He's got to prove all those things in the ring, people. Eye test? Yes. But Sergey Lipinets, was he a top 10 welterweight? No. Right? Has he been, did he look great in his last few fights? Not particularly. So very good win for Ennis. He deserves massive credit, passed the test. But you guys, some of you guys jumped the gun a bit on this stuff. Pump the brakes. Let's see him in there against a top 10 welterweight later this year. That's what I want to see. And then we could get even more excited. But everyone's excited about this kid. Let's see. Lithuanian welterweight prospect. Imantis Stanionis improved to 13-0 with a unanimous decision win over Thomas Delorme, who is now 1-3-1 in his last 5 fights, but has been fighting really good opposition. In fact, Thomas Delorme is probably up there as one of the best resumes in all of boxing, just in terms of who he fights. Yes, he comes up short most of the time when he steps up. But in terms of being willing to fight the best fighters and guys like this coming up, good-looking prospects coming up, Delorme is one of those guys that we really need more of in boxing. Boxing could use more Thomas Delormes for being willing to get in there and always giving dudes quality rounds. Stanionis got 12 really good rounds with Delorme. This will make him a much better fighter. I like Stanionis. There's a lot of good things he does. He's a bull in there. There's subtle craft to the way he fights, but there seems to be a lack of real game-changing power. And also, he needs to really, really get set to throw the big power punches. So there's some stuff to iron out there, but in terms of his craft and everything and his strength, he's going to be a problem as he develops. Also on this card, Jorwood Ancajas, unanimous decision win over Jonathan Rodriguez. Of course, this was a super flyweight fight, or junior bantamweight, as I prefer. Again, he won that title in 2016, and somewhat disappointing run. There are other guys at 115 I'd much rather see him fight. However, based on his last few fights, I don't think Ancajas would be all that competitive with the likes of Ioka, Chocolatito, and Estrada. I'd love to be proven wrong, though. I'd love to see those fights happen. All right, Top Rank on ESPN at the Osage Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We talked to Sonny Conto earlier in the show. He was on this card, got a TKO1 win. All other young heavyweights, Efe Ajagba, Jared Anderson, and Trey Lippe all got stoppage wins on that card as well. A lot of heavyweight action, and Top Rank has invested in these young heavyweights. So they see something there too. Top Rank knows what they're doing. They know the trends. They're always a little bit ahead of the game in comparison to the other American promoters. And for them to sign this little group of young heavyweights, they see something there. They see potential good fights down the line between these guys. But, of course, this is all about the main event. Joe Smith Jr. edges it out. Majority decision win over Maxim Vlasov. Claims the vacant WBO light heavyweight title. Of course, this was scheduled to hit or go earlier in the year. And then Vlasov tested positive for COVID, apparently. I say apparently because there's so many false positives these days. And he didn't look bad in this fight. He looked really, really good. He didn't look like a guy that had a serious viral infection that, had him out of there for a couple weeks where he couldn't move. It looked like, and he claimed that he went back home and tested and everything and came back negative. So he claimed he thought it was a false positive. Sure, it looked like it in the ring. But did I not tell you guys that Maxim Vlasov was battle tested and that he was going to be competitive with Joe Smith and be a problem? Now, I picked Joe Smith. I picked him to win, okay? But I thought that Vlasov, having fought at cruiserweight, fought those 200-pounders, moving down to 175 was going to be able to handle Smith's power. And he has got so much experience. In fact, I'm going to go through here. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Hang on one second, guys. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share this screen right here. Check it out. I got his box rec pulled up. And this is Maxim Vlasov here. Back in 2011, he fought Isaac Chilemba, right? Now, he came up short, but that's a good fight. He fought Isaac Chilemba. Guys, that was a decade ago. We go up, and here he is fighting Gilberto Ramirez. These fights were at 170, mind you, in 2015. Came up short, but good rounds, going the distance with these guys. Later on, at cruiserweight, he went up to cruiserweight and fought there for years. Fought Krzysztof Glowacki, goes the distance with him. That's a guy with power. Ends up going back down to 175, fights Isaac Chilemba again, and then Joe Smith Jr. So the resumes there as far as the quality of opposition. And all that experience helped him in there against Joe Smith. Now, this decision was somewhat controversial. There are a lot of people out there that felt that Vlasov won it. I guess it really depends on what you preferred. So let's quickly talk about punch numbers. Go ahead and cringe. But I have to give Joe Smith credit. You don't need CompuBox to see that in the 11th and 12th round, he went out there and got busy. And he clearly outworked Vlasov and won those last two rounds. And I think that's why people are okay with this decision for the most part. No one's calling it a robbery because Smith clearly took those last two rounds. Now, a lot of you out there felt he needed to win those two rounds just to get a draw, including one of the judges. So I ain't mad at you if you feel that this should have been a draw. But it's a tough sell to me that Vlasov won when he didn't close the way Joe Smith closed. Championship rounds. You got to go there and take it, dude. I didn't like Vlasov's body language in the 10th with the punch to the back of the head. That was kind of a love tap. Vlasov was clearly winded there. I'm not saying he was looking for a break. I'm not saying he lied about getting hit in the back of the head. I think he milked it a little bit. I think there was some veteran maneuvering there. And after that 10th round, when he took that knee and got a break and everything from the ref, in the 11th and 12th rounds, Smith won those rounds and controlled them. So I just thought that Smith gutted it out in the very, very end of the fight. But I had him down going into those championship rounds. Going into the 10th, I should say. And from that point forward, Smith really had to take the fight and grind it out. So CompuBox credited Smith with landing 74 punches in the final 2 rounds. Also, this is worth noting. Vlasov, according to CompuBox, landed more power punches, 187 to 174. That indicates he did a little more work in the power punching category. However, here's what's interesting. Smith won the battle of the jab. He doubled the number of jabs. He landed 52 jabs to 27 for Vlasov, so almost doubling. Doubling, of course, would be 54. So almost 52 to 27. Also, and here's a big one, body punching. Smith landed 53 body punches. Vlasov landed 10. For some reason, there are people out there who do not like to rate jabs when they're scoring rounds, and they don't like to rate body punching when they score rounds, particularly with bigger fighters. All judges and fans seem to rate body punching when it's featherweights, when it's lightweights, when it's bantamweights. But you go to 160 or higher, and suddenly jabs don't mean shit and body punches don't mean shit. Joe Smith clearly won in those punching categories, okay? Now, you don't score by punch numbers. You score by rounds. And in terms of rounds, first 8-9 rounds, I thought Vlasov won more rounds. He did better work in more of the rounds. But just on pure activity in punching, those last few rounds, yes, I'm only scoring it on activity in punching, effective aggression. I thought Smith took those final few rounds. So I'm good with the draw, but I'm also good with 115, 113 for Smith. The one judge who had it 115, 112, that means he scored that 10th round 10-8, I think, which you don't do. That wasn't a 10-8 round, so that's stupid. But 115, 113, that means you gave Joe Smith 7 rounds, you gave Vlasov 5 rounds. That's within the range. That's cool. Anything wider than that, I think, would be egregious. If you scored at 115, 113 for Vlasov, I can see that too. It really does depend on what you prefer. For me, body language-wise, okay, just watching it. I didn't score this as an official judge. I was watching it just as a fan. Watching this, seeing who closed the show stronger, who controlled the action in the last 3 rounds of the fight, for the most part, that was Joe Smith. So I was cool with him edging it out and getting this decision. Was this a scintillating, thrilling victory? No. However, let's not have short memories here, people. Remember when Jamel Herring fought Oquendo last year, right? And that fight got delayed a bunch of times. There was COVID tests, there was positives, then negatives, and all this stuff. His rhythm got thrown off. He didn't look real good. Then he has a regular camp where he's totally in rhythm, peaks at the right time, gets in there against Frampton, and how'd he look? Same thing, Teofimo Lopez. We go back, his fight with Nakatani, and then how he looked against Comey in Lomachenko. So everyone who's shitting on Joe Smith Jr. right now and saying, oh, he ain't shit, he didn't deserve this decision, boo, boo, boo. Look, man, I think he's going to look different if and when he ends up fighting Artur Beterbiev. And you can tell by the broadcast, ESPN and everybody there knows that's where Top Rank is going. So at some point, I would say in the 3rd quarter of this year, maybe 4th quarter, because Smith had some cuts that he has to deal with and heal up, we're going to see Joe Smith Jr. and Artur Beterbiev unify 3 of the 4 titles at light heavyweight. That is a fantastic, can't-miss action fight. And that Joe Smith that we see in that fight is going to look much better than the guy we saw against Maxim Vlasov this Saturday. Mark my words. All right. Let's go to fight preview time. And I should get a drink of water, man. I'm losing my voice. Whew. Actually, let's go to the comments real quick. I want to show some of the comments here from you guys. Costas says that it was a good close fight. I had a draw. Smith needs to improve or else he gets stopped by Beterbiev. I don't know if Smith is going to get any better than he is right now. I think he's as good now as he's ever going to be. And why not make the damn fight Smith and Beterbiev? And also, don't forget, Beterbiev has had a lot of injuries, hasn't been the most active guy. Jordan is a brown cat. He says, that's going to be a hell of a fight. Hell yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be an amazing freaking fight. Oh, by the way, Zach D says, hit the like button. That's right. Hit the damn like button. Don't just hit it. Smash it. Jab it. All right? Everyone hit the damn like button. There's only 18 thumbs up on this video right now. More than double that amount are watching live. So you just need to get busy hitting that thumbs up button. Okay. Preview time. Before I get to Saturday, so Saturday, April 17th, there are 3 different cards. We keep getting this thing, man, where every Saturday it's 3 cards, which in a way is good, but in a way is not so good because you want to see all the attention on one event. But anyway, I think I'm trying to think. It's Wednesday or Thursday. I'm sorry, guys. I don't remember the exact day. I think it's Wednesday. There is a Matchroom card in Milan, Italy on DAZN featuring cruiserweight Fabio Turchi in the main event. So I just want to make sure that I mentioned that. Let me jump back to the chat here. John Uden on the chat. He says, can Smith Beterbiev sell enough to be in the big room at MSG, or do you see it more as MSG theater? Dude, pre-COVID, I think it could be an MSG. Would it sell it out? That I don't know about, but I think that would be in the regular room at MSG pre-COVID. Post-COVID, I don't know. You got to remember, man, Smith is from New York. This would be a title unification. It would definitely bring a huge media presence, and I think it would bring a large fan presence too. I think that the Russian fans would be tuning in. The New Yorkers would be there. I think it would be a regular MSG. But could a fight like that happen post-COVID? That I don't know. I really don't know what's up with the COVID restrictions in New York. The governor there is a moron. I won't go into that too much, but it's who knows what's going to happen there. Likely that fight goes to Vegas. That would be my guess. All right, Saturday, April 17th, 3 different cards. Let's start here in Atlanta, where at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium downtown, it's Triller on pay-per-view. I will be covering this event. I will be there live covering this event for ringtv.com, and I will try to do a ringside recap there. So just to give you guys a little inside information, they're not having any ringside media, and they're having very limited fans at this thing. And they probably could do a pretty good crowd, especially here in Atlanta, but they're trying to, I think there's a certain theme that they're going for with these Fight Night series cards on Triller. And with the media, they specifically told us that they're going to be putting us up in suites, which I'm like, cool, you're going to put me up in the suite? All right. So I'll be kind of elevated and kind of having the, I guess the camera view that you normally get on the broadcast. That's probably the view of the ring that we're going to get. But so there's going to be no ringside media, which probably is good because there's going to be like a concert mixed with a fight card. So I don't want to blow out my eardrums. So being up in the suite, that works for me. And we're not going to get any in-person interviews with the fighters. All the interviews will be done via a Zoom link that they're going to have all of us jump onto. So they're going to put the fighters who are already in a bubble. They're going to stay in that bubble after they leave the ring, of course, and get cleaned up and stuff. They'll be in the bubble, and we will do like a Zoom interview with them. So all my interviews will be via Zoom. But if I can, I want to do a ringside recap, like a live video from there. I'll try to do that for you guys just to show, just to give my thoughts on the experience, because I'm expecting this to be different than any other event I've ever covered. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to cover it, because I think it's going to be very interesting with the fan base that, because I have friends that covered, was it Logan Paul's fight in LA or maybe it was Jake Paul, one of the Paul dudes in LA before COVID. And I have colleagues that were there and they were saying like, dude, just the people that were at that fight, it is unlike any boxing event I've ever covered. So I was really interested in that. So it's a shame in one respect that there's not going to be a lot of fans there. So I'm not going to get that experience. but Snoop Dogg's going to be there. All these people, and they're going to have, I think Justin Bieber's doing music. There's all these other guys. So that whole experience, that is what I kind of want to commentate about and give you guys some just immediate thoughts. So if I can, I will do a video. But of course, even if I can't, on the neutral corner, TNC 263 next week, I'll talk about my experience in detail. I'll let you guys know what it's like to go to one of these shows and how it differs from a traditional boxing show. So in the main event, not a whole lot I can talk about. Jake Paul, 2-0, going up against Ben Askren, who is making his boxing debut. He was 19-2 as an MMA fighter. I guess, well, Paul is 24 years old and Askren is 36 years old. This is an 8-round cruiserweight fight. And Paul's a little taller, a little longer, definitely younger and fresher. But this is still, all things being considered, probably a step-up fight for Paul because Askren is a literal combat athlete. I mean, he's retired and he's over the hill and everything, but he was a highly accomplished amateur wrestler, MMA fighter, and I don't even know what the hell this is, but he's been getting into disc golf recently, and he's a highly accomplished disc golfer, for those of you who know what that is. Anyway, he is an experienced combat athlete. So this will be the first time that Jake Paul will be fighting an experienced combat athlete. So in that sense, you could call it a step-up fight. The fight that I'm interested in on this one is the co-main. Regis Prograis, 25-1, going up against Ivan Redkach. This is 10 rounds, 140 pounders. Both of these guys are southpaws. Redkach is always an exciting fight. He always brings it. Prograis, always an exciting fight, always brings it. Do not expect this to go the distance, but it's going to be a damn good, exciting, entertaining fight. For Prograis, this will be his second fight since losing to Josh Taylor in the World Boxing Super Series finale in October of 2019. So after this, I'd like to see him get a little busier the rest of this year and get back in there against a top 10 guy. For Redkach, his last few fights have been at welterweight. He started at lightweight, so he's kind of fought all over the place and kind of, I'm not saying he's becoming an opponent, but he's kind of becoming that guy that gets tossed around a little bit here. He's coming off a unanimous decision loss to Danny Garcia last January. I think he has something to really prove in this fight. But having been in there against legit welterweights and taking that power, coming down to 140, I think that'll serve him well. All right, Matchroom on the zone from Hollywood, Florida. Demetrius Andrade, 29-0, undefeated, going up against Liam Williams, defending his WBO middleweight title. Andrade's first fight since last January, so it's been, 15, 16 months since he's been in the ring. For Williams, he is facing his best opponent as a pro. He is 7-0 since the two losses to Liam Smith back in 2017. 7-0 since that, but against limited opposition. So this is a huge step up in class for Williams. And for Andrade, as usual, just hasn't been very busy, very active. All that being said, I just think Andrade is levels above Williams. I think Williams is going to give him something to think about. He's going to give him something to think about. He's one of his better opponents in a while, but I think that Andrade's going to win a unanimous decision here and clearly win this fight. Also on this card, Carlos Gongora. Remember him? 19-0 super middleweight, coming off that upset W over Ali Akhmedov in December. He is fighting Christopher Pearson, who is a guy. Christopher Pearson, it's been interesting to watch his career. I covered him in the World Series of Boxing back in 2010. Covered a couple of his fights in the World Series of Boxing back in 2010 before he started fighting pro. So it's just always interesting to see where guys go from there. And also on this card, interesting heavyweight to keep an eye on. Muhammad Rasul Majidov, 3-0, 34 years old, from Azerbaijan. Fought in the 2012 and 2016 Olympics, 2011 and 2013 amateur world champion. Also fought in the World Series of Boxing. He is going up against Andrei Fedosov, an experienced heavyweight who has not been very active in a long time, but is a solid, experienced heavyweight if he's anywhere near the form he was at his best. But Majidov, a little up there in age, 34 years old, but with all that amateur experience, he's got some tools. He's a guy to keep an eye on. And then in Los Angeles, PBC on Fox, Tony Harrison taking on Bryant Perrella. I think that's an interesting fight. These two guys are kind of in a crossroads in their career, and that will be an interesting one. Of course, that's junior middleweights, 10 rounds. Also on that card, Omar Juarez, 10-0, 140-pounder out of Texas. And Vito Melnicki, 8-0, is a welterweight prospect. They are on the undercard. So that is that with the preview. Harrison, Perella, you got to favor Harrison in that fight, but Perella might give him some trouble there. And Harrison can kind of be hot and cold in this. I always say he's really a 5-round fighter, man. As the fight gets later and later, he tends to fade a little bit. So that could get interesting late, but I favor Harrison. I like Andrade over Williams. I like Paul to beat Askren. I like Prograis to beat Redcatch by stoppage. It could be an explosive one too, and that should be a fun fight. That's how I see it. That's how I'm chopping it all up this weekend, guys. All right, so we are just under an hour. We'll get to a couple of quick comments, and we'll get out of here. Hawker Mustang in the chat says, Clarissa Shields definitely wants to fight Savannah Marshall in a mega event for women's boxing, according to his promoter, Demetrius Andrade. Yes, that is true. And she's been talking that trash on Twitter. Twal 1999 says, Askren is a great wrestler, terrible at striking. Paul will destroy him in 3 rounds max. You're probably right. I've seen it before. I've seen him before, at least on Twitter. I don't want to talk bad about the guy, but damn, he doesn't necessarily know how to throw a punch the right way. Trenton Perel says it's a circus show. Look, you're not alone in that, but I am interested in that Prograis Redcatch fight, and I really want to go, not just because it's here where I live now, but I've never been to an event like this, and I feel that it wouldn't be fair for me to just shit all over it and talk all kinds of trash without actually going there and covering the event and being fair. So I want to see what it's all about. And I promise you guys, I will give you the real, okay? The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. I'm not just going to do a puff piece. I ain't built that way. But if there are some things that deserve, some complimentary words, I'll go there. I'll give people credit where credit's due. We'll see what happens. Jakov Gospic on the chat says, Bridges Courtney was more of a show of will than skill. And that was for a world title. What's more insult is there were 7 other women ranked higher, also eligible. I hear you. And I don't disagree with most of that, okay? It was more about will than skill. But guys, I talked about this in the video I did this morning. Especially, let's stick with women's boxing, okay? We've seen Senicia Estrada destroy a girl in, 10 seconds? We've seen Clarissa Shields fight girls that had no business being in the ring with her. Savannah Marshall's opponent had no business being in the ring with her. We see that sort of thing all the time. So at least what you got here was a competitive action fight where will was displayed. I do think there was some skill displayed, but yes, probably more will. But let's give them credit. Let's give these girls credit. And there's plenty of bullshit title over in men's boxing too. We can't just, is the talent pool greater in men's boxing? Of course, you're comparing a puddle to an ocean of talent, okay? Yes, I've talked about this before, and there's nothing sexist about what I'm saying. It's just the reality. However, man, you can't pretend that there aren't email titles in boxing and there aren't paper titles, and the WBA doesn't have 5 champions in each damn division in men's boxing, because they do. So how many diamond champions and interim champions and all this exist in men's boxing? So we can shit all over the female fight. I understand what you're saying. At least what I'm saying back to you is, let's at least give them credit for showing up, putting on a good action fight, backing up the trash talk, and having a competitive match in the ring that was actually fun to watch. If it wasn't your cup of tea, I get it. Cool. But they didn't fight for the Ring Magazine championship. They fought for one of the sanctioning body titles. That is what it is, guys. Most of those titles are weak. Jamel Herring was on the show last week, and he said in this era of boxing, to be seen as a real champion, you have to unify titles and or fight for the lineal title. And I completely agree with Jamel. He was spitting truth when he said that. And this is a dude who has one of those, alphabet titles right now, and he was telling the truth there. So we got to be careful because we could talk just as much shit about most of the titles in men's boxing. Oh, man. Okay. Losing my voice. Trent Perella with another super chat. Thanks, Trent. You've been awesome today, bro. He says, yeah, Prograis is going to destroy Red Catch. I can see that happening. But maybe Red Catch will surprise us because, like I said, he's been fighting at welterweight. He's been fighting bigger guys. And Prograis hasn't been the most active dude in the world. Red Catch hasn't either. I don't think Red Catch has fought in over a year. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll show us something. But, yeah, on paper, Prograis should score a big knockout here. That's what I see. And highlight reel exciting type of knockout because Prograis is capable of that. John Newton says Milnicki has been looking huge in the ring lately at just 18. Him and Zayas both look destined for 160, 168. Completely agree. And those are two guys right there that, are going to be fun to watch as they develop. There's some really, really good young talent in the sport right now. We are in a good place as long as these guys fight each other. If they don't, and they stay on their little platforms, and all the DAZN prospects stay here, and all the ESPN prospects stay here, then this is not going to be good. But if these guys end up fighting each other, man, tell you guys, if Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz end up fighting at some point over the next 3 years or so, and maybe they end up fighting 2 or 3 times, you can't tell me those won't be big fights because they will. Hawker Mustang says, like it or not, Paul versus Askren is going to be one of the biggest boxing events of the year. You might be right. You might be right. That's depressing. On that note, we are out of here. Justin S. says, mom trunks. Who had the mom trunks? I didn't even see that. Zach D asking, how much pay-per-views did she sell last month? I assume you're talking about Claressa Shields. It wasn't very many. And that's why no one's reported the numbers other than a couple of yes men that said, oh, it did very well, and then gave no details. It didn't do very well. And that's not to put down Claressa. It's just wasn't a pay-per-view worthy event. All right, guys. That is it for the show. Oh, right when I'm about to go, my mouse freezes up. Of course. I don't know why it keeps doing this. This is a brand new freaking computer, man. I shouldn't do this. Let's see here. I'm trying to click off. It won't let me click off. Ah! Hey, man, you guys will just rock with the outro music here. My brother's outro music. Zach D has another good comment. He says, Claressa needs to go to the zone. It's bigger in Europe. I think Claressa is going to just do these one-offs here and there, man, where she gets money. That's what she's most concerned about, dude. And I think there's a little bit of delusion there. All right, guys. That's it. We will see. Maybe I'll see you guys Saturday night at that Triller show. If not, we'll see you back here next Monday on TNC. See you at the fights.